everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be on how to apply your foundation to make your skin look flawless and also to make sure that your foundation stays put all day. I'm actually going to give you a trick so that your makeup altogether stays put all day long. So I'm just going to give you a few tips and let's jump in. So the first tip that I have for your foundation to look flawless and so that it can last you all day is to make sure that you prep your skin really good. It's skin prep. The first thing that you need to do is make sure that before you apply your foundation that your skin is freshly washed. Wash your skin within like 15 to 20 minutes prior to applying your makeup. And when you do that, make sure that you use a soap that's not too harsh with your skin. Using harsh soap is actually going to make your skin feel flaky, dry, and irritated, and none of that is good if you want your foundation to last all day. So make sure to use a gentle soap. My tip number 2 is, of course, you're going to moisturize your skin. This is a must no matter what skin type you have. I recommend is for you to apply your moisturizer at least 5 minutes before you start putting on your foundation. What I personally do is I apply my moisturizer right after I come out of the shower and I let it soak in. So while I get dressed and everything else, it soaks in about 5-10 minutes, and then I go on and I apply my foundation. Also, something really important is that when you apply your moisturizer, to make sure that you don't just rub it into your skin, you actually want to tap it and apply it in a tapping motion, because this is going to make sure that your skin absorbs it better. And then again, when you apply your foundation, it's not just going to slide everywhere. You're going to have a nice moisturized and flawless canvas to apply your foundation onto. That's going to make sure that it lasts longer as well. Tip number 3 is to use a good long-lasting primer, and make sure that that primer that you're using is not too silky, because then again, that's going to make your foundation just wear off and move around a lot faster. I personally don't apply primer every single day, but whenever I want my foundation to last all day long and I want my foundation to look super flawless, I do use a primer, and I have a couple that I really like. I like the one by Mary Kay, which is the one that I used today, and I also really like the one by Smashback. They both have a kind of like a silky finish, not too silky that is going to make your foundation move around. Tip number 4 is to use a good long-lasting foundation that you trust. Usually matte finish foundations are a little bit more long wearing, especially if you have oily skin. I definitely recommend that. Something really important is for you not to just rub your foundation or your primer or your moisturizer, anything. Don't just rub it on your face. Instead, just dab it. Even if you're using your fingers, some people do like using their fingers to apply their foundation, which I personally don't really like just because it's too messy for me. But even if you use your fingers, just make sure that when you apply your foundation, you're doing it in a tapping motion. It doesn't matter your preferred method of application, as long as you're tapping into your skin as opposed to just rubbing the product around. This is going to make sure that your foundation adheres better to your skin. I'm going to move your dead skin around. It's just going to create a more flawless looking skin. You're just rubbing the product around like your foundation. All you're doing is moving your hairs around, moving your dead skin around, any dry patchiness areas, you're moving that around, so then your foundation is not going to sit in place. It's going to just look muddy and like it's not going to cover well, and we want flawless looking skin. So make sure that you tap everything. I personally prefer to apply my foundation with a beauty blender, but I also have some brushes that I really like, and whatever method you prefer, just make sure that again you're patting it into the skin, not just rubbing it around. Also make sure that you blend your foundation to your neckline. You don't want to bring it all the way down to your neck. You just want to make sure that it blends seamlessly and that you don't see where the foundation begins and where it ends. Tip number 5 is if you need extra coverage in certain areas, use concealer for that. Don't layer up your foundation too much, because that's just going to make you look cakey. So instead, just apply your regular foundation and then go over the foundation with a concealer that's matching your skin. So you want to make sure that you use a concealer that's your skin tone, not nothing lighter or darker, because instead that's going to just accentuate whatever you're trying to hide. Most of the time it's recommended for you to use a different concealer on your face than what you use under your eyes, because typically under our eyes we use a lighter concealer just to highlight this area, whereas any area that you want to correct or you know, just hide something, you want to make sure that it's the same color as your skin tone or the same color of your foundation. In the event that you don't have a concealer that really matches your foundation, then apply the concealer, and you're going to apply it by just tapping the area again, and you're going to go over that with a little bit, a very small amount of the foundation that you use in your face, and that's going to make sure that everything looks nice and seamless. Tip number 6 is to always set your foundation. And I know that I am guilty of sometimes not setting my whole foundation. Some of us can get away with just setting certain areas like your T-zone, your under eye area, and things like that. Like I personally do that. But foundation, or at least most foundations, are really meant to be set. So when you touch your foundation, if your foundation feels a little sticky or wet, then that foundation needs to be set. Again, if you have dry skin like me, you might be able to just get away with setting your under eye area, like your concealer, anywhere where you apply your concealer, and that's it. But otherwise, if you have oily skin, I really recommend to just set the entire foundation. Promise you that's going to make it last way longer. You can set it with either translucent powder, which is not going to give you any extra coverage or any additional color. You can just set it with any compact powder. What I used today was the MAC Studio Fix. Whenever I set my foundation with a powder like this one that has like some color in it and provides a little bit more coverage, so that my skin doesn't look cakey and so that it's set well and it doesn't look like super dry. What I like to do is actually use my beauty blender to apply the powder as opposed to using a brush. Beauty blender, or really any sponge that you use, are really meant to be used damped, like a little bit wet. So when you apply a dry powder like this one with your damped beauty blender and you apply it again, like just by tapping it in circular motions into your skin, it's really going to just melt the product into your skin, so your skin is going to adhere that better. It's going to look more flawless. You're going to get extra coverage, and it's going to make your foundation last all day long. Also, if you want your foundation to be super duper long lasting, it is also very important for you to, aside from setting it with setting powder, you also want to make sure that you set it with a setting spray. And when I mean a setting spray, I'm not talking about MAC Fix Plus or none of those moisturizing sprays. You really want to get a setting spray that says the wording setting spray. These setting sprays are made to make your foundation and your makeup overall be much more long wearing than if you wear them alone. Definitely make sure to use a setting spray, especially if you decide to skip setting your foundation with powder. Something else that I really feel makes my foundation look a lot more flawless, more even, all put together, I don't know, definitely more wearing as well, is after I'm done like putting my full face of makeup and I set like the actual foundation with spray, I like to come in with my beauty blender. I like to wet that a little bit with a little bit of setting spray, and then again I just tap everything. And this is after I already put my bronzer, my highlighter, my blush, everything. Like I already have my full face of makeup. Go back in with the beauty blender damped with setting spray, and I just go over it very lightly and patting it over everything. This is going to make sure that your makeup really melts in all together and really adheres to your skin. It looks really nice, even, and flawless. And lastly, one thing that you really want to remember is that you want to maintain your foundation throughout the day, especially if you're gonna go with a full face of makeup for over 8 hours. Usually with the type of skin that I have, which is normal to dry skin, I really don't touch up throughout the day if I'm going to be wearing my foundation for about 8-9 hours. However, if I'm going to go to a place that I'm going to be sweating, or I'm really going to be wearing it for 12+ hours, and it is really important for you to maintain your foundation. You need to carry with you a setting powder. I usually use my MAC Fix Studio powder, and I carry it in my purse. It is extremely important that before you go over your foundation with the setting powder or with the compact powder like this one, for you to take a tissue paper and just pat your skin, especially the areas where you're most oily or anything like that. Like you pat it with the tissue paper, and then once you get the excess oil or like the excess foundation that is like moving around, then you go over it with the powder, and then you just pat the places that you need extra coverage or that you need to set again. So that is it. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, that you learned something new, that you found it useful. I'm really thinking about doing like a how-to or tip series for like just basic makeup tips. So please let me know what you would love to see next. Thank you so much again for watching. I love you all, and I see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye bye.